Hi, I'm Coffee Kevin. Technivorm Moccamaster. God, how I love this machine. It was the first automatic drip coffee maker I felt made the grade to be featured in the Coffee Companion. I met Boyds Coffee. Boyds was the distributor. Do you know the story of this? Probably not. Boyds Coffee folks were at the International Housewares Show. It's another International Housewares Show meeting in Chicago. And they were also in the Lakeside Room, where Chemex was, but in pricier real estate. Right near the top U.S. automatic drip brands, KitchenAid, Bottomatic, Mr. Coffee, all of the whole gang was there. I met David Boyd, who was their CEO. He had Kennedy good looks and cut a dashing figure as a CEO. He was also, and this meant the most to me, a coffee guy. Boyd's was one of those rare companies. They were big enough to offer U.S. distribution, but they were truly committed to cup quality. In many ways, they were one of the first U.S. specialty roasters. More about that in a minute. But no, when I met the Boyd's folks, I knew they had an interesting brewer. Here's my review from 1993's issue 2 of the Coffee Companion, and let me show you. I set it over here because I didn't want to spill water on it. I don't know if we have any more of these. Anyway, this is some of these are really rare, but I do have we had actually had to break into our own file cabinet. I don't know. I've set the key down somewhere. Anyway, let's take a look. Technivorm Thermo 8. Political kingpin Lloyd Benson might look at this coffee brewer and say, "You're no Chemex." But looks aren't everything in coffee. Taste is. And that is where the Technivorm Thermo 8 is a champion. Okay, and let me give you some background on this. Several years ago, the Norwegian Coffee Board, tired of appliances churning out lackluster cups of coffee, and they sponsored a competition to see if any manufacturer in Europe had the right stuff to create an automatic drip maker that produced perfect cups of coffee. Dutch manufacturer Technivorm won the competition with introduction of this unit, which included the following innovations: a 1,000-watt heating element that would rapidly boil water to the proper brew temperature of 200 degrees Fahrenheit, a gravity-based pump system that prevented water from being released to the brew basket unless it reached the proper temperature, a simple tube that filled the carafe from bottom, ingeniously and automatically mixing the brew during brew cycle. The brew time is around 4 minutes, somewhat slower than Bun's 3, but certainly brisk compared to the famous Braun 12-minute drip. European versions of this brewer apparently flow out at 6 minutes. Technivorm believes Americans prefer less strong cups and that we won't sit still for the extra 2 minutes. That's probably was a fair appraisal at the time, and of course with the K-Cup, I'm interjecting this now. Wow, just feel the heft of that power cord, which is plugged in right now. In fact, the build quality of the entire unit is tight, and it has a feel to it that compares with the best German cars. Tests. Nothing previously mentioned would mean a thing if the quality didn't get to the cup. To be honest, when we tested the Technivorm, I couldn't get it to taste. My first cups were somewhat lacking in overall character. I wrote this off as a trade-off of using paper filters. My regular maker is a Stella Flip Drip with a stainless steel filter. Then I took a break in testing and came back fresh from summer vacation. A stirring revelation. One problem with most electric drip brewers is they have an enclosed brewing system, forcing users to forgo an important step during brewing, stirring the brew to stimulate extraction. Oddly, this is most important using ultra-fresh coffee, which of course is what I use. Brad Jenkins of River Road Coffee had just sent me their new crop Kenya AA for testing. Fortunately, The simple design of the Technivorm allows the removal of the cover of the brew basket during brewing. I was able to stir the brew during its cycle to facilitate extraction. It worked. I used just over 2 ounces of ground coffee and ground it for fine drip, just a notch finer than auto drip. I got a rich, medium-bodied brew with neither too much strength nor bitterness. My engineer, Curtis Clark, performed hydrometer tests on the coffee. Curtis, 20 years my senior, doesn't share my subjective analysis mindset when it comes to these things. I'm often put in my subjective place when he proves me wrong with his apparatus. He's also mystified by my more than occasional feelings that are then verified by the same apparatus. Curtis's findings were consistent this time with my own tastings. The temperature is ruler flat on brewing temperature. Brewing fine drip, Ditting number 6 grind, with between 57 and 60 grams of coffee produces a 20% extraction ratio, arguably what we coffee drinkers and coffee lovers look for in a cup. One caveat of this otherwise excellent brewer is the thermos. If you drink coffee within 1 hour, you'll probably be satisfied. If you take coffee to work or go on a picnic or want coffee to be piping hot, I suggest buying the less expensive non-thermo version and buying a separate air pot. My conclusion: other brewing methods provide more perceived body, but none fulfills the high-end acidity in the cup better than drip. In this class, the Technivorm is a champion. It is referenced quality and should last a lifetime. For many, it is the only coffee maker they will ever need. Recommended, especially to the connoisseur who desires the simplicity of operation and consistency electric drip provides. Now, that's the article end. And you should know, this is the very Technivorm Thermo 8 that I tested. Certainly, the longevity of this brewer cannot be questioned. It's been 17 years, 27 years rather, right? Yes, of course. And this brewer was 3 years old when I obtained it from Boyds, who was kind enough to keep it on permanent loan for ongoing testing. Believe me, I don't intend to, you're gonna get this away from me, my grasping little hands on it. Pat did some digging and found some video footage of Technivorm inventor Gerard Smit. We originally shot this footage at a specialty coffee trade show in Atlanta, where they were exhibiting. The footage was used in Mission Coffee Can, a series we created about some students who decide to import a specialty coffee into the U.S. as their project. This footage was shot to be used to show the student entrepreneurs attending a trade show. We happened to spot Gerard and his wife Ina, who together owned Technivorm Moccamaster. It's not a formal interview. I'd like you to keep an eye, though, on how Gerard watches his precious coffee brewer in operation. I imagine Henry Ford seeing his creation in operation, and you'll see why I find this so fascinating. And just look at all the various stages that I've just described for you in the review, and I think it'll be a little treat for you.
Half a minute to heat up. Now you can see it.
But perhaps once back home, we can show it to our employees.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this is very sophisticated stuff.
So good. And you hear it doesn't make noise.
It doesn't make noise at all, and it spreads the water evenly over
That's
the
because
coffee,
of the
so that
big water.
all of it is getting wet
Oh my gosh, that's
and
so cool.
playing a part in the extraction.
Yeah.
You've always been in the coffee industry for...
Well, the company started in '64.
Okay.
And we started
this
with making
ladle
coffee
is
grinders.
multi-hole. You I see.
And then in '69, Gerard developed a coffee maker.
Started
Or
with
it started
one
in
hole.
'68,
But
and we started
gets
the
the effect
production in
of drilling a
'69.
hole in the
As
coffee.
that was the beginning of coffee
So
makers.
your idea was to.
So
Yeah.
in the first years we only
Yeah.
had time to produce them, and for our country always listened to the coffee people. We have the cold seal of approval in
Oh yeah.
But this
Europe and
effect, because now you see the bubbles go, you see the water go,
Yeah.
then it will be white and not transparent again.
You see,
Oh, okay.
like when you have hot water from your sink.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then you've got to descale it. But that's an easy procedure.
Use vinegar to.
Well,
Yeah,
there is a
vinegar,
special
yeah.
cleaning vinegar.
Yeah.
And if you forget to do that, in the end it will stop automatically. And then you might wonder, why does it work? But doesn't it work? Well, okay, see,
Take
look at
care of
that.
it. Yeah.
Hey, you idiot.
Like
you
a
gotta,
car.
you gotta-
And
Yeah.
it takes
Yes.
longer and longer to have coffee.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
Just,
brew you bad coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, it reflects the heat.
Oh, okay.
Sugar or milk?
I'm good.
No, I like it just like that.
These machines are hand built. No one believes it. No
You
one
guys are
believes
hand built?
it. They're
Hand built?
Yes. And everybody said, well, okay, fine, that is baloney, because no one in the world makes things by hand
Yeah.
today. I mean,
Wow.
we do it.
They never
And
break.
for how long?
And
How
and
long?
they get the water perfect.
How long does it make to
Yes.
make each one?
Yes. Each one is tested
My dad.
prior to
I
leaving
think
the factory.
30
Yeah.
minutes.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
30 minutes is the complete
Really
production
cold.
time.
Complete.
How does it?
And
Is this like a copper heating element?
Yes. Yes, it's so. Yes.
It could be expensive with the price of copper goes up. But it's very.
And that's Kevin.
Yeah.
He knows all about coffee.
yes.
If you were in doubt, ask Kevin.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
About what? For coffee?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be happy.
I don't ask my father any questions.
Is that your father?
Yes.
Oh.
That's a good yes.
Well, I really enjoyed that, finding that show, and it's a rare chance to meet someone that is really one of the pioneers of brewing geniuses. I spoke with Gerard many times. He had invited him to come present at CoffeeCon. Sadly, he passed away before he could do this. Just so you know, Ina still owns, as far as I know, owns the company today, and it is they still make the same quality as far as I can tell. Obviously, the longevity test takes time, but it appears to be. I think his later designs are even more attractive than this. He got the real look there that reflects it. I think the looks of this model perhaps were going against it at the time, but it's my opinion. By the way, I want to revisit this for a second. I'm just making this up as I go along. In reading it, let me tell you, it's interesting, that insight about stirring the coffee. I have found all I have to do is a little this. And this is, by the way, has been improved upon. It now has multiple, it has a true shower head. It's narrow, but it does have a shower head. This has just the one stream. I don't know if you could see it while I was brewing, while I was talking, but it was, if you get the overhead shot of this, Pat, you'll see, look at that. I mean, we got a really nice extraction. This is a reasonably fresh coffee too, and I think I've learned to grind it better. I've just learned a number of things about it. It does a great job. And anyway, otherwise, the measurements didn't change. I mean, don't change. And by the way, still meets spec. As I measured it when I dug this out. I wanted to see, does it still meet the same temperature? Absolutely, no change. Now, Speaking of CoffeeCon, we're still planning a Chicago area event in October. I'm also offering the Specialty Coffee Association a chance to collaborate with us to bring a CoffeeCon combined with their fall 2020 West Coast Barista competition. And I'm hoping that we can find a place there, whether it's, I'd love it to be Portland, but, I'd love to have a West Coast CoffeeCon this year. Of course, we're all waiting to know when we can again host events. Safety is the only way we want to proceed, of course. I wish you a happy Easter. Thanks for joining me. This was definitely a treat to see the Technivorm in operation, as well as the footage of its inventor. I'm Coffee Kevin. See you soon.